Stop being a coward. I know you don't think of yourself that way. You think you're polite. You think you're considerate. You think you're just checking the vibe of the room before you speak. But let's call it what it actually is: social terror. You're terrified that if you say what you actually think, or if you act on your true ambitions, the crowd will turn its back on you. You are a slave to the approval of people you don't even respect. In the next 30 minutes, I am going to give you the blueprint for dangerous self-certainty. This isn't about confidence in the way you've been taught. It's not about standing taller or speaking louder. It's about becoming untouchable. It's about building a version of yourself that does not require a single like, a single nod, or a single well done from the external world to feel powerful. If you are looking for a pep talk, go somewhere else. If you are ready to kill the coward inside you, listen very closely. The first step to dangerous self-certainty is the execution of the people pleaser. Most of you are living a performance. You dress for others, you speak for others, you even choose your goals based on what will look good on a screen in 2026. This is the ultimate form of cowardice. You have turned your soul into a product for public consumption, and because the public's taste changes every hour, you are in a state of constant anxiety. You are a leaf in a hurricane, wondering why you feel so unstable. Stoicism offers you the internal citadel. Marcus Aurelius, the man who ruled the known world, wrote to himself, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Think about the insanity of that. You know your own heart, you know your own work, you know your own struggle, and yet you allow a stranger's comment or a friend's subtle judgment to dismantle your entire day. That is cowardice. To be dangerously self-certain, you must realize that the opinion of the crowd is noise, not signal. In 2026, the noise is louder than ever. We are drowning in a sea of experts, critics, and judges, but a Stoic realizes that these people are just as lost as anyone else. Why would you seek direction from someone who is wandering in the dark? When you stop looking for the nod of approval, you gain an unfair advantage. You become the only person in the room who isn't performing. And in a world of actors, the one real person is the most dangerous person in the room. This leads us to the rule of indifference. In Stoicism, things are divided into two categories: what you control and what you don't. You control your intent, you control your effort, you control your integrity. You do not control how people perceive you. You could be a saint and people will call you a hypocrite. You could be a genius and people will call you a fool. The coward tries to control the perception. He twists himself into a pretzel, trying to be understood and liked. The dangerously certain man accepts that he will be misunderstood. He accepts that he will be disliked. He says, "My job is to be virtuous. Your job is to have an opinion. Neither of us should interfere with the other." When you truly internalize this, your anxiety dies. You start moving with a cold, lethal efficiency. You stop asking, "Will they like this?" and you start asking, "Is this right?" This shift in focus is what makes you dangerous. A man who doesn't need approval cannot be bribed. He cannot be bullied. He cannot be canceled because he never belonged to the crowd in the first place. He is a sovereign nation of one. Think about the last time you held back an idea because you were afraid of looking weird. Think about the last time you didn't start that business or post that content because you were worried about what your high school friends would think. That was your cowardice talking. You traded your destiny for the comfort of not being judged. You sold your throne for a seat at the average table. Stoicism demands that you take that throne back. It starts with premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. The coward spends his energy hoping for the best. The certain man spends his energy preparing for the worst. Ask yourself, what if they all hate me? What if I fail and everyone laughs? What if I am totally alone? A Stoic looks at those scenarios and realizes, I would still be me. I would still have my mind. I would still have my character. Therefore, I have nothing to fear. When you realize that the worst-case scenario cannot touch your soul, you become a predator of opportunity. You move while others hesitate. You speak while others whisper. Dangerous self-certainty is not loud. It is silent. It is the calm of a man who has already accepted death and therefore finds life easy. It is the certainty of a captain who knows his ship is solid, regardless of how high the waves get. Most of you are trying to calm the ocean. The Stoic builds a better ship. Stop trying to fix the world's opinion of you. It's a waste of time. Fix your opinion of yourself. If you don't respect the man in the mirror, no amount of public applause will ever be enough. But if you do respect that man, if you know you have acted with discipline, courage, and justice, then the silence of the world is just as sweet as its cheers. This is the first phase of your 30-minute transformation. We have identified the enemy, your need for a safety net of approval. Soon we are going to build the armor of the soul. We are going to move from not caring to being the one who defines reality. If you're still here, it means the coward in you is starting to starve. Let him die.
You've killed the people pleaser. Now you're standing in the wreckage of your old social identity. It's cold, isn't it? Without the constant feedback of the crowd, you feel exposed. This is where most people quit. They run back to the safety of being liked. But you aren't most people. To reach dangerous self-certainty, you must now forge your armor. In 2026, people are fragile by design. They are built to break the moment life stops being convenient. Their confidence is tied to their Wi-Fi connection, their comfort, and their predictability. When a Stoic speaks of being dangerous, he is talking about being anti-fragile. He is talking about the ability to not just survive the storm, but to use the wind of the storm to sail faster. Truth number 2 of the 30-minute reset. Your character is your only possession. Everything else is on loan. Your money, your health, your family, your house. The universe can reclaim them tonight without an explanation. If your confidence is tied to things you can lose, you aren't confident, you're just delusional. You are a man standing on a trapdoor, hoping the rope doesn't snap. A dangerously certain man builds his house on the only thing the universe cannot touch, his judgment. This is the armor of the soul. Epictetus said, "You can bind my leg, but not even Zeus has the power to break my freedom of choice." This is the ultimate power move. When you realize that your ability to choose your character is a superpower, you stop being a coward. You stop flinching when the world gets loud. You know that even if they take everything, they cannot take the man you have decided to be. This is the secret of the unfair advantage. While your competitors are panicking because the market changed or the trends shifted, you are unmoved. You are certain because your value is generated from within. You are the source of the light, not a mirror reflecting someone else's. To wear this armor, you must practice the dichotomy of control with clinical precision. Most people waste 90% of their mental energy on things they cannot influence. They worry about the future of AI, the global economy, or what people are saying behind their backs. This is a massive leak of power. It makes you look weak. It makes you look haggard.
The dangerously certain man is a miser with his energy. He asks one question: is this within my control? If the answer is no, he treats it with absolute indifference. Not apathy, but strategic indifference. He doesn't complain about the rain, he just gets an umbrella. He doesn't complain about a difficult boss, he either masters the job or leaves. By cutting off the leaks of external worry, your internal pressure builds. You become dense, you become heavy. You become a person who enters a room and pulls the gravity toward them, simply because you are the only one not vibrating with anxiety. Now let's talk about the weaponization of failure. The coward is terrified of being wrong. He is terrified of looking stupid, so he plays it safe. He stays in the average lane. But the dangerously certain man knows that failure is just data. In the Stoic mindset, there is no failure, only obstacles that become the way. Every time you hit a wall, you are being given a chance to practice a new virtue. If you lose money, you practice temperance. If you are insulted, you practice patience. If you are exhausted, you practice endurance. When you realize that every bad thing is actually a gym for your character, you stop fearing bad things. And when you stop fearing bad things, you become a threat to anyone trying to stop you. Imagine a man who literally cannot be discouraged. If you block his path, he finds a new way and grows stronger from the detour. If you bankrupt him, he uses the hunger to outwork you. If you lie about him, he uses the silence to build a reputation that makes your lies look ridiculous. This is why Stoicism makes you dangerous. It makes you an opponent who has no off switch. To reach this level, you must perform a daily audit of fear. Most of your cowardice is hidden in the things you plan to do but never start. You tell yourself you're waiting for more information. You're not. You're just afraid. The Stoic armor is forged in voluntary hardship. You don't get certain by sitting on a couch. You get certain by doing things that make you want to quit and then refusing to quit. Take the cold shower, do the extra set, make the uncomfortable call, speak the truth when your voice shakes. Every time you do something you're afraid of, you add a plate to your armor. By the end of these 40 minutes, you will realize that self-certainty isn't a feeling you get from a video. It's a state of being that you earn through the cold-blooded rejection of ease. You are becoming a man who is dangerous because you are the only one who doesn't need the world to be nice for you to be great. We have killed the people-pleaser. We have forged the armor. In part 3, we are going to look at the lethal presence. We are going to talk about how you carry this armor into the world, how you speak, how you move, and how you dominate social spaces without saying a word. The coward is still screaming inside you, begging for comfort. Ignore him. He is the only thing standing between you and the man you were born to be.
Armor is useless if you don't know how to move in it. You have killed the need for approval, and you have forged an internal fortress that the world cannot touch. But now, you have to walk back into the arena. You have to walk into that boardroom, that social gathering, or that confrontation. Most people think confidence is about being the loudest person in the room. They think it's about dominating the conversation. That isn't confidence, that's compensation. That is the sound of a coward trying to convince himself he's brave. The third stage of dangerous self-certainty is the mastery of the Stoic frame. In 2026, everyone is leaking energy. They are fidgeting with their phones, they are over-explaining their decisions, and they are constantly looking for a reaction. They are desperate to be seen. A dangerously certain man is the opposite. He is a black hole of attention. He doesn't leak, he absorbs. He doesn't move for the sake of moving. He moves with a cold, calculated economy. Stoicism teaches us the power of the controlled response. When someone insults you or when a situation turns chaotic, the coward reacts instantly. His nervous system is hijacked. He gets defensive. He gets angry. He proves in that moment that he is a slave to the stimulus. A Stoic, however, understands that the greatest remedy for anger is delay. When you refuse to react to an external pressure, you are performing a psychological power move that terrifies the average person. By remaining still when the world expects you to flinch, you signal a level of internal certainty that is, quite literally, dangerous. You are signaling that you are the one who defines the reality of the moment, not the person shouting at you. This is the lethal presence of silence. Most of you are terrified of silence. You feel the need to fill every gap in a conversation with filler words, nervous laughter, or useless information. You do this because you are afraid of being judged in the stillness. But the man who is dangerously self-certain loves the silence. He knows that silence is where he evaluates his opponent. He knows that the person who speaks the least usually has the most power. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, therefore we should listen twice as much as we speak." In 2026, information is cheap, but presence is rare. When you speak less, your words gain weight. They become like stones dropped into a still pond. People start leaning in to hear you. They start wondering what you know that they don't. This isn't a trick, it's a result of your internal armor. You don't need to speak to prove your value, because your value is already a settled fact in your own mind. This creates a presence that is heavy. It is the presence of a predator who doesn't need to roar to let the forest know he's there.
Let's talk about the eye of the storm. In any social or professional hierarchy, there is always a frame struggle. People are constantly trying to pull you into their reality, their drama, their panic, their petty competition. The coward is easily pulled. He gets caught up in the gossip. He gets stressed by the emergency that isn't his. To be dangerously certain, you must maintain your own frame at all costs. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Be like the promontory against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." When you walk into a room, you are that promontory. People will bring their chaos to you, expecting you to mirror it. When you don't, when you remain calm, direct, and unmoved, you force them to enter your frame. You become the anchor. This is why people will follow you. This is why you become dangerous to those who want to manipulate you. You are a variable they cannot count for. You are the only thing in their environment that doesn't react to their inputs. This presence is built through the death of fidgeting. Look at the cowards around you. They're constantly adjusting their clothes, checking their notifications, or shifting their weight. This is low-status behavior. It is the body's way of trying to escape the present moment because it feels unsafe. The dangerously certain man owns the space he occupies. He sits still. He looks people in the eye without blinking. He speaks at a pace that suggests he isn't afraid of being interrupted. You might think these are small things, but they are the physical manifestation of your Stoic training. If you cannot control your own hands, how can you expect to control a business? If you cannot control your own eyes, how can you expect to lead a family? Dangerous self-certainty is a bottom-up process. You master your breath, then your body, then your words, and finally, your environment. This level of presence creates a vibe of competence that cannot be faked. In 2026, we are surrounded by AI-generated perfection and curated influencer lives. Everyone is a fraud to some degree. When people encounter someone who is truly certain, someone who doesn't look for the exit, who doesn't apologize for taking up space, and who isn't desperate for a smile, it creates a primal reaction. They don't just like you, they respect you. Or they fear you. Both are acceptable to the Stoic. But remember, this presence is not about acting tough. Stoicism is not about being a tough guy. It's about being an unshakable guy. The tough guy is often just a coward with a mask. The unshakable guy is someone whose character is so dense that it has its own gravitational field. You don't need to flex your muscles or raise your voice. You just need to be present. You need to be the only person in the room who is actually there, fully conscious, fully intentional, and fully indifferent to the outcome of the social interaction. As we move through these 40 minutes, you are starting to see the shift. We started with not caring. We moved to internal armor. Now we are talking about external dominance. But there is a final trap you must avoid, the trap of ego. If your confidence makes you arrogant, you aren't a Stoic, you're just a loudmouth. True, dangerous certainty is humble because it doesn't need to be recognized. Next, we are going to look at the lethal action. We are going to talk about how you use this presence to execute your goals. We are going to talk about the Stoic strike, how to make decisions and take risks that would paralyze a normal man. You are a few minutes into your transformation. The coward is almost gone. Don't let him back in now.
Presence is a shield, but execution is the sword.
You can stand in a room with the stillness of a statue and the frame of a king, but if you cannot move when the moment demands it, you are just a well-dressed coward. The fourth stage of dangerous self-certainty is the transition from being to doing. It is the ability to make decisions with a cold, surgical precision that bypasses the analysis paralysis that keeps the average person stuck in a cycle of planning and worrying. In 2026, the world is addicted to hesitation. We have more data than any generation in history, yet we are the most indecisive. We research until the opportunity is dead. We consult until the spark is gone. We wait for a certainty that the universe never provides. A dangerously certain man knows that speed is a virtue. He doesn't wait for the perfect moment. He takes the moment and makes it perfect through the sheer force of his will. Stoicism gives us the tool of amorphous intent. While the coward is obsessed with a specific outcome, the exact amount of money, the exact promotion, the exact reaction, the dangerously certain man is obsessed with the quality of the action. He understands the concept of the archer's paradox. A Stoic archer does everything in his power to hit the target. He trains his muscles, he perfects his stance, he calculates the wind, and he releases the string with absolute focus. But the moment the arrow leaves the bow, the Stoic is indifferent to whether it hits the mark. Why? Because the hit is outside his control. The shot, however, was his. When you operate this way, you become dangerous because you are immune to the paralyzing fear of failure. Most people don't act because they are protecting their ego from the shame of missing the target. They would rather not shoot at all than shoot and miss. This is the coward's way out. The dangerously certain man shoots. If he misses, he evaluates the wind, adjusts his stance, and shoots again. He moves through life with a lethal strike mindset because he isn't playing a game of win or lose. He is playing a game of act and learn. This leads us to the Stoic law of radical decisiveness. In any high-pressure situation, the right decision is often a mystery, but a fast decision is almost always superior to no decision. Why? Because a fast decision gives you more time to pivot. The coward waits until he has 100% of the information, which usually happens only after the opportunity has passed. The dangerously certain man acts on 70% information and uses his superior character to handle whatever happens next. He trusts himself more than he trusts the data.
To achieve this, you must practice the death of the what-if. Think about how much of your mental CPU is currently being used to run simulations of things that haven't happened yet. What if I lose my job? What if she says no? What if I look like an idiot? These are the whispers of the coward. Every what-if is a micro-leak of your power. A Stoic replaces what-if with I will handle. If I lose my job, I will handle the job hunt with the same discipline I have now. If she says no, I will handle the rejection with dignity. If I look like an idiot, I will handle the embarrassment by laughing at my own ego. When you replace the question of the future with the certainty of your own resilience, the hesitation vanishes. You start to strike with the weight of a man who knows that no matter how the dice land, he is still the one holding the cup. In the professional world of 2026, this makes you a predator. While everyone else is in a meeting about the meeting, you are the one who has already launched. While they are discussing the risks, you are already managing the consequences. This is what it means to have dangerous self-certainty. You are not right more often than others, you are just braver more often than others. And in a world of cowards, bravery is the ultimate market-cornering strategy. Now let's look at the lethal strike in social dynamics. How do you apply this to people? It's simple: radical honesty. The coward hides behind diplomacy and hints because he is afraid of the friction of the truth. He wants everyone to like him, so he tells no one the truth. The dangerously certain man values truth over comfort. He says what needs to be said, clearly and without malice. He doesn't soften the blow to protect his own reputation. He delivers the facts because he respects the other person enough to treat them like an adult. This makes you dangerous because people cannot predict you using the social script. They can't manipulate you with guilt or niceness because you aren't playing the same game. When you speak the truth, you are striking through the layer of bullshit that most people use as a shield. It creates a vacuum of power that you naturally fill. It tells the world, I am not afraid of your reaction. I am only afraid of my own dishonesty. But there is a catch. This lethal execution requires a level of self-regulation that most people find impossible. You cannot be dangerously certain if you are a slave to your impulses. If you strike out of anger, you are weak. If you strike out of greed, you are predictable. A Stoic strike is cold. It is a decision made in the internal citadel and executed by the body without emotional interference. Seneca said, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." This is the core of the 30-minute reset. You are building a version of yourself that is so well regulated that your actions are indistinguishable from natural laws. You move when you should move, you stop when you should stop. There is no vibration of doubt, there is no noise of regret. Think of the most confident person you've ever met. They didn't seem hyper or excited, did they? They seemed inevitable, like a tide coming in, like a sun setting. That inevitability is the result of lethal execution. It is the result of a man who has decided that his actions are his only true signature on the world, and he refuses to sign his name to anything half-hearted or hesitant. You are now a few minutes into this process. You have the mindset, the armor, and the presence. You now have the permission to strike. In the final phase, we are going to tie this all together into the sovereign life. We will discuss how to maintain this dangerous certainty for the rest of your life, making sure that the coward you killed tonight stays dead forever. The world is waiting for you to flinch. Don't give them the satisfaction. Strike now. The 30 minutes are almost up. If you are still here, the coward you were at the start of this video is effectively dead. He couldn't survive the pressure of these truths. He couldn't handle the responsibility of realizing that his confidence was a lie he told to hide his fear of the world. You are standing in the wreckage of your old self, and for the first time, you are breathing the air of dangerous self-certainty. But there is a final, vital lesson you must learn if you want to keep this power. The world will try to pull you back. 2026 is designed to resurrect the coward in you every single day. To live a sovereign life, you must realize that confidence is not a destination you reach, it is a maintenance protocol. You don't become certain and stay that way forever. You earn your certainty every morning when you wake up and decide to face the world without hope, without ego, and without excuses. The moment you start looking for a comfort zone, the moment you start asking for permission again, the armor starts to rust. Sovereignty is the act of being your own supreme ruler. It is the refusal to let any external event, whether it's a global crisis or a private insult, overrule your internal code. Truth number 5 of the 30-minute reset is the law of total responsibility. The coward loves to blame. He blames the system. He blames his upbringing. He blames the algorithm. By blaming, he feels better, but he remains a slave. The dangerously certain man knows that even if he is not responsible for the cause of a problem, he is 100% responsible for the solution. Marcus Aurelius sat in a tent on the front lines of a plague-ridden empire, surrounded by betrayal and war. He didn't complain about his bad luck. He wrote, "Everything that happens is as it should be." This is amor fati, the love of fate. It is the final level of dangerous certainty. It is the ability to look at a disaster and say, this is exactly what I needed to test my character. When you stop wishing for things to be different and start using things exactly as they are, you become invincible. You are no longer fighting the universe, you are the universe in motion. This is the definition of God mode. In 2026, we are obsessed with rights, but the sovereign man is obsessed with duties. You have a duty to your own potential. You have a duty to speak the truth. You have a duty to remain unshakable for those who depend on you. When you shift your focus from what you deserve to what you owe to your own character, your confidence becomes lethal. It's no longer about me, it's about the mission. And a man on a mission is the most dangerous force on earth. He cannot be distracted by petty dramas because they are beneath the scale of his purpose. He cannot be discouraged by failure because failure is just an adjustment in the mission's trajectory. To maintain this state, you must practice the daily death. Every night before you sleep, perform a moral review. Ask yourself, where was I a coward today? Where did I seek approval? Where did I flinch? Do not judge yourself with emotion. Judge yourself with the cold eye of a Stoic general. Then, kill that version of yourself. Wake up the next morning as a new, refined, and more dangerous version of the man you were yesterday.
The sovereign life is lived in the present moment. The coward lives in the past, ruminating on what went wrong, or he lives in the future, worrying about what might go wrong. The dangerously certain man knows that the past is a ghost and the future is a dream. The only place where your power exists is now. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." By staying grounded in the present, you cut off the oxygen to your anxieties. You deal with the problem in front of you with the tools you have in your hand. This focus makes you appear superhuman to the people around you who are drowning in their own mental simulations. You are now equipped with the 5 pillars of dangerous self-certainty: the death of the people-pleaser, the armor of the soul, the lethal presence, the lethal strike, the sovereign life. The 30 minutes are over. You are now a different person than the one who clicked on this video. But here is my final warning. The world hates a sovereign man. People will notice your change. They will notice that you no longer laugh at their jokes to be polite. They will notice that you no longer apologize for your existence. They will notice that you have a weight to you that wasn't there before. And they will try to break you. They will try to pull you back into the average lane because your certainty makes them feel insecure about their own cowardice. Expect the pushback. Welcome it. It is the universe's way of checking if your armor is real. When they try to guilt you, remain indifferent. When they try to anger you, remain calm. When they try to intimidate you, remain still. Show them through the silence of your actions that the old you is dead and buried. You don't need to talk about being confident anymore. You don't need to post about it. You don't need to prove it. You just need to be. Walk into your life tomorrow and move like the man who has already won. Speak with the authority of someone who doesn't need to be heard. Act with the precision of someone who doesn't fear the result. The cowardice is gone. The certainty is here. The 30 minutes are finished. Now go out and be dangerous. Stay grounded. Stay unshaken. Stay stoic.